Welcome back to the channel. It's time to talk about worst of the week, and there were a lot of candidates, but we decided to go with Batman in the Fortress #5. And here with me, as always, to talk about this trash is Doc. How you doing, Doc?
You know what? I think you already have a little bit of the upper hand on who's going to quit first. This comic was terrible, and this comic made me terrible.
Gary Whitta writing, it's been bad from day one. Derek Robertson on art. I talked about the opening pages that they did a preview on. Jackson Hyde on the beach, getting ready to make out with the dude. Why that happens, I don't really know. If the only reason was so he could show what his powers were by murdering people, it doesn't feel all that effective to waste like 9 pages on that stuff.
Jackson Hyde promised that he's not going to let this dude drown, and then drowned a bunch of dudes.
The look on his face was so nuts when he saw the people dying in the background and he's about to make out with that guy. It was like, he looks like such a villain in there. Once they get on shore, to the credit, I guess, of Gary Whitta, the would-be romantic partner does say, I'm out of here. You're really strange, and I find you repulsive now. And then Jackson Hyde claims that the guys didn't die, but that's completely unbelievable. They were sucked under by like a whirlpool and stuff like that, yeah.
All of the modern legacy heroes are actually villains that are psychopaths. Eventually, somebody smart will just turn them all into villains.
That will not stop Batman, because that's what this is all about, because Batman is recruiting a team, Doc. Have you ever heard this story? The entire Justice League have been taken away, and he needs to recruit the next generation of Justice League heroes to join him to save the original Justice League. This is a novel approach. This isn't even going on in Dark Crisis at the exact same moment, Doc.
This is something that is never, ever, 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 ever done before in the last 7 minutes.
And you know what the weirdest part is Batman is recruiting Jackson Hyde to join him because he needs somebody underwater, apparently. And he literally just witnessed him murder like 8 people on the beach, and he didn't care. That doesn't feel like Batman.
Well, nothing in this comic feels like Batman. He witnesses like everyone murder somebody, and is still like, you could join my team. He recruits 2 people in this book. Both of them are in the act of murdering people. And he doesn't do anything about it. He doesn't even like make a judgment on it.
He doesn't even try to save the people and do the right thing.
Not at all. And he's just like, yeah, you're I'm sure I'll have a bunch of murders.
This is the lowest selling Batman story I've ever seen led by Bruce Wayne. It's like outside the top 50. It's absolutely insane that you could sink a Batman title to this degree. But Gary Whitta has done the unthinkable. And Jackson Hyde does join the team for plot reasons, I guess. The next person he decides to recruit, you mentioned another murderer, is Red Arrow, who has just murdered 2 drug dealers and is robbing them, apparently, when it happens. Batman comes up to her, and they just have a normal conversation. He doesn't put her in jail or anything.
Batman approaches her to join his little team since they have to break into the fortress. She says, I'm a assassin, not a thief, as she's stealing money from a dude.
And as she's pointing an arrow right into his mouth and threatens to murder him on the spot.
I don't know who Gary Whitta is. I've legitimately never heard this name before.
He wrote the screenplay for Book of Eli. He also wrote the first draft for Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I guess it got rewritten, but those are his claims to fame.
So he's literally nobody, slumming it from Hollywood down into comics, probably because he's not getting any work in Hollywood at the moment.
Well, he used to be like the EIC for Gamer magazine and stuff like that.
Oh,
he
so
really hates Gamergate. That's what he hates.
DC Comics and Marvel Comics are literally the only thing below games journalism when it comes to importance of a career at this moment. This is the only issue of this I've read, but he doesn't know a fucking thing about any of the characters he's writing.
There's almost no action other than the guys being murdered. It's just people talking the entire time. He's not a comic book writer. He doesn't understand how to work with an action medium. The good part is it doesn't waste good art, because Derek Robertson, who's been a good artist in the past, but my goodness, he was not impressed with the script, and he's putting 0 effort into this book. It just looks like shit from page 1 to page 30.
I haven't read much of Derek Robertson in recent years. The last time I read him on a book regularly was when he was still doing The Boys. If this is representative of his current work, he's seriously just discount Howard Chaykin now.
Well, it's certainly not very exciting. It's not kinetic. It's not enjoyable, just like the script that it's working with. Next thing, we get to like the final scenes, and they jump on a submarine, and I think the submarine captain's like, wow, we've never gone down this far. We shouldn't be able to do this. And Batman's like, they're not called superpowers for a reason. And I'm like, okay, great line there. And then we see Lex Luthor, who's the president, and he's got his Luthor armor, but it's got a new paint job. and he wants to join Batman on the mission to penetrate the Fortress of Solitude, which apparently they're looking for. And Batman says, I don't trust you. And he says, the only thing this armor doesn't guard against are emotional wounds. And I was like, okay, so he doesn't get Lex Luthor either. And he's smiling the whole time. It's so weird.
Yeah, Luthor's just got this real goofy fucking smile on his face all the time, threatening to let the whole world die if he doesn't get to come on the adventure. I mean, I understand Luthor is an egomaniac, but Luthor wouldn't give a shit what Batman says. He'd just wait for Batman and his team to go, and then he'd go too.
Well, he certainly wouldn't talk like that. He would have authority about him. That's the thing about Luthor. You know he's a bad guy. The readers know he's a bad guy. The people in Metropolis know that Luthor is a bad guy, but he has a gravitas about him that garners respect, and even people that know he's bad are willing to follow him because they know a lot of times he might be right or that he's going to win in the end.
And if nothing else, the man's going to get shit done. This was just some little boy version of Luthor that was easily told off by Batman that isn't Batman. Anybody that has ever read anything with Lex Luthor, I'm not even a huge DC fan, and I know that Lex Luthor would have laughed in Batman's face.
This whole comic book is bad. Eventually, we do find that the Fortress of Solitude apparently is at the bottom of the ocean. Not sure how it got there. We do know that Superman is missing, and we got these aliens and stuff. But there you go. That was the big reveal. Fortress of Solitude was in the Arctic Circle, then it was in the Bermuda Triangle, and now it's at the bottom of the ocean, apparently with Atlantis.
I got $5. We're going to end up getting a global warming lecture at some point in this fucking comic book at this rate.
Oh, yeah, that's almost guaranteed. Gary Whitta is an absolute hack. He shouldn't be writing anything in DC Comics, especially their flagship character, Batman Bruce Wayne. This thing is an absolute joke. The art is terrible. There's a lot of murder in here. Batman doesn't seem to mind. He's like, hey, you want to kill? That's on you. I'm willing to let you murder people right in front of me. It was just an entire bastardization of the DC Comics universe, and that's what we're getting in this one, and I think that's why people have tuned out and are not buying this comic book.
Go write a comic adaptation of a Book of Eli 2, dude. Get out of comics.
This comic book has been absolutely horrendous from day one. I talked about the very first issue, which is actually worse than this one. Not much worse, but it is absolutely worse. Batman Fortress #1, Gary Whitta exposes himself as a complete moron. If you haven't seen this, you need to check it out. If you don't see it here, there's also a link in the video description.